that when I started, y'all kind of threw me a little party, a little welcome party. I still have my wonderful Odessa Bulldogs t-shirt, although it's getting quite holy. Maybe that's a good thing. But I was also given a map. And maps are not always easy to follow. And you have to learn how to read them. And so this was up on a wall for years, Lafayette County. And so I looked through it, and there's Odessa, and there's Higginsville. Oh, look, there's Bayview right there. And that helped me to get around a little bit. Road maps are good things, but like I said, you have to learn how to read them. So you have to be able to translate what you see on the map into where you want to go. When I was growing up, before they had other modes of navigation, we used to have triptychs, and I don't have any triptychs left over. But when we were going to go to Florida, it was so much fun because we'd have a triptych. And AAA would do that. I don't know if any of you remember triptychs, but it would be highlighted. This highlights the state, but every page, you'd turn pages, and every page would be highlighted with where we needed to go, with the roads that we needed to take. And it was so exciting, like reading a book. You can see if you've got this big, huge, thick book, like maybe the Bible, you can see how far you're getting. You know, the turning of the pages and the inevitable, are we there yet? Which got really old really fast. But we get to watch the triptych, and my parents would help us, my two brothers and me, learn how to follow the triptych and see where we were. Oh, here we're coming into Georgia. And Georgia's a really, really long state, and that was always the hardest point because we knew we were so close to Florida. Well, this is kind of what the Sermon on the Mount is. The Sermon on the Mount and all of its different parts are like a road map. But like I said, a road map isn't always easy to read. Now, we can still follow a traditional map, but we can also use our phones and just push a button and say, navigate to Oklahoma. But it'll want a more specific thing. So navigate to, whatever city or state or an address in Oklahoma. And it'll take us there and it'll talk to us. I kind of like that in a way, and it kind of frustrates me in a way because I liked thinking through what I was doing and learning how to read the map, learning how to find something, because we also had those big, huge maps that open up and everybody's turning around and trying to find out where you are on those maps. Learning how to read the maps. So, like the Beatitudes, we're learning how to be transformed into people that live with this roadmap. The map of hanging out with the poor and taking care of them. Taking care of each other. Being there for each other. Because the pattern of this world encourages us to fight to be successful. Well, in Romans we see, do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do we get transformed? Well, it happens through learning. Happens through studying. happens through being open to the voice of God. We were talking a little bit in Sunday school this morning about putting faith first before family. That's a really, really hard one. But if we put faith before we put family, our faith informs our relationship with our family. I remember growing up and seeing retaliation at school. And I remember how difficult it was for me to get to a point where I did not feel justified by hurting somebody back, by striking them back once they struck me, whether it was in them calling me a name or pushing me down or something like that. Well, you know, somebody hurts you, you hurt them back. That's the way of this world. That's the way of our position in this world. Or we're going to kill, or maybe before we get killed. So kill or be killed, playing that game. And that is so not what God is calling us to do. God is calling us to be the salt of the world. You are the salt of the world. Unfortunately, being salty has a new definition. So we have to really define between that new definition. Being salty is like being bitter and a little cranky or looking for justification. Is that about right, Austin? So Austin all of a sudden in school came home from school one day. Ooh, he was salty. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? So as we know, words often change their definitions. But salty means bringing out the flavor. Okay? So with our faith, putting faith first, with our love, we are people of flavor. You are people of flavor. So as I'm studying this and studying about salt losing its saltiness, I thought of one of my favorite foods. Unfortunately, it's not very healthy. I will not have macaroni and cheese if it does not have salt put on it, because it brings out the cheesy flavor. Oh my goodness. Macaroni and cheese is nothing to me without salt. Okay, so you've learned a little something about me. Salt was used as a preservative for meat because it would suck out a lot of the different bacteria in the meat. And until refrigeration, that was kind of what was used, salt as a preservative. I remember Granny telling me about the meat that they would cure and have out in the barn in some way. And the smokehouse. And so, you know, the salt was a preservative. Another thing, I don't like eggs without salt. It brings out the flavor. You are called to be the salt of the earth. Isn't that cool? I think that's really cool. And we're called to bring all of the attention to God, not to ourselves. And that was what Jesus was doing. Wherever he went, when he was talking with people, he was telling them that they are blessed. You are blessed. This is your identity. And you are blessed to be a blessing to others. Also, I mean, these are things that we understand. We are called to be the light of the world. And we're not supposed to put it under anything, but look, it even shines through this. You can still see its light. So when we are having hard times in our lives, yeah, that can bring us down. But our faith lifts us up even in the most horrible of times. And we have each other. We have our church family, we have our extended family, and sometimes our church family is more of a family to us than our extended family. I'll say to some degree that's very true for me. And I know that if I am sad, if I have a need, there's different people that I can just go and talk to. And same with them, hopefully. And same with you all. Different people that we go to. But we're called to go out and share our faith with one another. This is what it is to be blessed. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is identity. We are truly, truly blessed. Amen.